So today we're going to talk about the chapter 11, immunity. This is the last
Mm-hmm.
chapter of the AS biology, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you have known the definition of immunity. What's it?
Mm-hmm.
What is
Uh,
immunity?
the system to fight with the disease.
That's right. So immunity means the ability of the resistance of the human body to resist the disease or
Mm-hmm.
to fight against the pathogens like virus, bacteria that will lead to disease. Okay, so today we are talking about the the blood cells, like white blood cells and macrophages,
Mm-hmm.
lymphocytes, and how they originated, and like antibody, antigen, and how does the antibody originate, as well as the difference between the autoimmunity and the non-self immunity, which from the emission of the pathogens such as virus and bacteria that will lead the human inflammation or hypersensitivity, not only inflammation but hypersensitivity or even the disease. Also, we talk, um, the two kinds of mm, like cell immunity and liquid immunity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm sure that you know the T4 cell. That is the full name of the T4 is T helper cells. But also there's T uh, toxic cell or T8 cell or cytotoxic cell. And both T4 and T8 got the cellular immunity. But um, on the contrary, that is the liquid immunity or body fluid immunity. Um, that is about the human body, um, plasma cell to produce antibody. Okay. So also we will talk about some uh, diseases which has been eradicated, such as smallpox, measles, cholera, malaria, tuberculosis. We have learned in the previous chapter, chapter 10, inflammation disease.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, in this chapter we talk about the vaccination. And since the measles or cholera, malaria, tuber, TBs pathogens like for example, Vibrio cholerae and the Plasmodium or Mycobacteria tuberculosis are the foreign pathogens to the human body. If we, our biologists, biological technicians can come out of some antibody or similar antibodies to fight against these pathogens, maybe the person will be away or away from the emission of this kind of pathogens, or at least keep these our patients from this kind of disease. Last we talked about a monoclonal antibody, or briefly MAB. When you made some drugs with drug names with the its name end with MAB. AB means antibody. Uh, for example, Sezulizumab AB with the end of a map. That is the mono, monoclonal antibody. Okay, which is now
Mm-hmm.
widely applied in the clinical application. This is very different from the chemical agents that is used as in a chemotherapy for cancer. since the we have mentioned that the chemotherapy will result severe side effects on the human body, but the on the contrary, the monoclonal antibody, or called the target drugs, that will leave very little or even no side effects um, to the human body. So they are very much preferred by the patients. But unfortunately, these kind of drugs are very expensive, very expensive.
Mm.
So generally, we will make use of two of the therapeutic drugs, as well as the target or by um, medicine. So this will, to some extent, lessen the economic burden of the patients. Okay, now that's all about the general introduction of the chapter 11, immunity. But first, let's talk
Mm.
about this the diseases, the smallpox and the polio. I'm not sure that you know these two diseases, smallpox and polio. Smallpox in Chinese, 天花; polio in Chinese,
Mm.
脊髓灰质炎. Okay, polio is um and smallpox. Both of these diseases have been eradicated not only in China but also around the world. Why they are have been this disease have been eradicated? Because the vaccinations has been successfully introduced to the possible patients all around the world. So in 1980, and the smallpox has been eradicated, as they had not been a new case anywhere in the world for the previous 3 years. um, so as we know, the smallpox, 天花, the person will be disfigured, and the polio, the suffered person will lamed or paralyzed, cannot walk. So this disease is it's I mean very very severe. They got a severe outcome or the consequence for the especially the kids. Okay, so for the figure 11.1 on 15 April 2012, 170 million children across India were vaccinated against the polio as part of the government's program to eradicate the disease. As we know that in in China, the polio has been eradicated before the 2012. So that is the things that we should see highly of for the government. Without the central government, you know, promotion, this kind of achievement cannot be established. Okay,
Mm.
so we next to talk about the defense against the disease. Um, we a human being got several ways to fight against the disease. The first is the external defense system. I'm sure that you know that the human skin is the largest organ of our human body. Um, when the passenger want to get into the human body, the skin is the first barrier to prevent the human body against such a virus or bacteria. If some person unfortunately got, for example, knife cut of the skin, and the person will got the bleeding, right?
Mm.
The blood will get out of the blood vessel, but in a shorter time, the blood will be coagulated and bloated, and the blood clotting uh, will prevent the further blood loss. And yeah, this is very good for the blood circulation, but also it is very good for preventing the possible or potential invention or incoming of the bacteria. Okay,
Mm.
and also I'm sure that you know the structure of the respiratory of the lung. Their trachea, broncha, bronchial, alveolar, and capillary, right? Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
what's the common features or characteristics of the trachea and the bronchi? We have mentioned this chapter in the chapter 9. There is cilia, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's cilia on the surface of the trachea and the bronchi, right? If the foreign pathogen unfortunately get into the trachea, or uh, the bacteria has been killed by our human bodies, macrophage or white cells, and they will be ground into the particles, and then they form the pus with white blood cells in the pus. And then at the end of this process, the um, pus will be spewed out, will be spewed out as the sputum, with a function of the cilia. The cilia will propel the pus out of the trachea, and you feel, oh, there is itchiness about around your throat, and you want to spew out the sputum, right? So, and I found that it is not the general sputum, but also it's like a very sticky sputum. Actually, that is pus. Pus in Chinese, pus, pus in 脓液, 脓汁. That is, you know, uh, the dead virus or dead any bacteria, as well as the dead white blood cells inside of the pus. But without the repellent function of the cilia, your pus cannot be, repelled out from your trachea. So you know that, you see, for example, the epithelia that cover the airways are an effective barrier to the entry pathogen. Okay, to the entry pathogen. And so all of these human body's structures compose the external defense system. So I think that it's very tricky, and I think also very mysterious. This kind of it's cooperation among the different parts of a human body. Okay, this is called an external defense system. Next, let's talk about the internal defense system. Okay, internal defense system. Yeah, as we know, internal means inside.
Mm-hmm.
That is will mention the blood cell. The first cell we got to mention is a white blood cell. As you know that there are red blood cell or erythrocyte, white blood cells or thrombocyte, platelets, um, in our blood systems. But we can further you know divide into the two types of the white blood cells. That is phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes. Phag in Chinese, to eat. Okay. Phago. Now you can see that this word Phagocyt.
Mm-hmm.
Phag means to eat. 吃,
Mm-hmm.
吃. Phagocyte means the site. CYT site means cell. Okay. CYT site means cell. Phagocyte means the site got the ability of eating the something external or something foreign. Okay. And the typical phagocyte is called a macrophage. Okay. I'm sure that you know this site, macrophage, macrophage, macrophage. Macrophage in Chinese. Here, macrophage. Uh, Macro means huge, giant. Okay. So, so macrophage is very typical phagocytes. That is also the in a category of the white blood cell. And the lymphocytes, as we have learned the lymph system, okay, lymphatic system, in generally the lymph system will go along with the the cardiovascular vasculature system. um, but and also there's a wide connection between the blood vessels as well as the lymphatic system. And the blood vessel container components like red blood cell, white blood cell will get into the lymphocyte system. And also lymphocyte will also get into the white blood cell, into the the blood system. So they just connected each other. But also in the lymphatic system, there is one important structure is called a lymph node. Lymph node, 淋巴结 lymph node. The
Mm.
lymph node, typically in a clinical usage, when the person got the disease, and if the person find it or doctor find that lymph node has been swollen or enlarged, and then generally we got to say the person has suffered from some typical disease, because in the ordinary or healthy person, the lymph node will not be touched, not very obvious. If you just touch the the area around your clavicle area or shoulder or the groin area, the part between in your two legs. Uh, so the lymphocyte and the phagocytes are two types of the white blood cells. And
Mm.
as we know that white blood cells are the main force of fighting against the pathogens, virus, and bacteria, especially bacteria. Okay, and you gotta know that the white blood cells can be further differentiated into like neutrophil or eosinophil or basophil. I would like to type them down on the screen for you. Okay, now EO is eosinophil. Can you see I'm typing the word?
Mm.
Well, okay. So eosinophil is the white blood cell that, or in the point of your pH, uh,
Mm.
in the pH, it will be lower than 7. Okay. Basophil. Okay. And also neutrophil. Okay. So these three kinds of cells, eosinophil, basophil, and a neutrophil, are three kinds of the white blood cells
Mm.
uh, that are not listed in our textbook. Uh, they are also very important to fight against the uh, foreign antigens, such as
Mm.
bacteria, mostly bacteria. So the white blood cells cell, I mean, the number of scales is around 4,000 to 10,000, 4,000到1万. If you can say that the number of the white blood cells has been larger than 10,000, it can, generally speaking, the person got the inflammation, the bacteria uh, inflammation. And if the person's the lymphocytes, yeah, lymphocytes is also one kind of the white blood cell. But if the person's lymphocyte has been elevated, increased,
mm,
and the doctors will say the person possibly got the virus attack. Okay, so the virus would attack the person to increase the number of the lymphocytes, even though lymphocyte is one kind of a type of the white blood cell. Okay, so that's the clinical experience. Okay.
mm,
As to the antibody, antibody in Chinese county, we'll further talk about the you know uh antibody. But to the antibody, they got some foreign antigen get into the body, and then the body recognize the pathogen next time before the second time of the antigen get into the human body. The human body has produced the similar uh, antibody to fight against the antigen, virus or bacteria for the second time. But also, uh, there's called autoantibody, means the person inside of its own body, it generates the antibody will attack himself. That is insane, unacceptable. But that is the general mechanisms of the disease called this kind of disease I would like to show you. For example, here in our textbook, one disease here. Have you seen the the black patient got their eyelids is drooped down, okay, cannot elevate his eyelid like you and me and see, look around uh, voluntarily. The persons with drooping eyelids are common only symptoms of the disease called myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis in Chinese, 重症肌无力. Okay.
mm, mm,
Now please write down the name of the disease and write its corresponding Chinese translation, 重症肌无力, myasthenia gravis. So the mechanism of myasthenia gravis is that the patient, inside of the patient, it generates the autoantibody. What is autoantibody? That is the antibody has been generated by itself, by inside of the human body, and then the antibody will attack uh, its own human body cell without the foreign pathogen intrusion. There's no foreign antigens get into the human body. How?
mm,
Okay. Now, what one of the disease called auto called autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease. 自身免疫性疾病 autoimmune disease. Okay. So this is called a case of mistaken identity. That's to say, you just kill yourself. It's another kind of suicide. Okay, right?
mm.
Okay. Well, let's keep uh come to the yeah. So as to the internal defense mechanism, I would like to also mention the ABO blood group system. ABO blood group system. So what's your blood type? What's your blood type? You know that?
Oh, oh,
So your blood type is O, right? Actually, generally, the
yeah.
blood type O is the widespread or very popular blood type in China. Uh, as we know, there are blood type A, type B, type AB, and type O, and also RH negative. In RH, positive type, including type A, type B, type AB, type O. Okay. Well, why the blood is mm, regarded as type A, type B, or type AB, or type O? That is depends on the antigen on the surface of the blood cell. If the person's blood cell on the surface blood cell, the antigen is type A, that person got type A blood cell. If the person's blood cell surface antigen is type B, that's called a type B blood type. And if on the surface of the human blood cell, there are two antigens, type A, type B antigens. The person's type is blood type is called a type AB. You got a type O. That's to say, there's no any antigen on the surface of your blood cell. No antigen. Okay, no antigen. Just remember this. Okay, but on the contrary, if the person got the type A blood cell in its human body, you can imagine if the person got the type A, that is will have the type A antigen, right, on the surface of the blood cell. If it self got a type A antibody, what will happen? I mean, if the person, yeah, inside with a type A, blood type A, he or she, her, inside its blood cell, there are type A antibody. Antibody, what will happen? As we know, the antigen antibody will conjugate it, will combine, right, to form the complex, right? So if the antibody and the antigen they meet each other to form the complex, and the blood will coagulate it, will be in a form of coagulation or form the blood clotting, okay, 就形成血凝块. So in a type A blood, there is no type A antibody. Understand? But in type A blood cell, there is antibody called type B. Understand? Type B. So because type A antigen cannot conjugate or combine with type B antibody, right? In the same way, in a type B blood cell, there is no type B antibody, but there is type A antibody. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can say if the type A, mm, the person with type A blood cell, red blood cell, has been mistakenly be transfused with type B blood, what will happen? What will happen?
Type B made a type B antibody that the blood clot.
Yeah, since there is a type B antibody in a type A uh, red blood cell, and then after in transfusion of type B uh, uh, blood, and then the type B antigen in the type B blood cell will combine with the type B antibody of the type A blood cell, right? And then they will form the complex of the antigen and antibody, and then the blood will coagulate in Chinese, 凝血. Okay, I type these words here. CO coagulate. Okay, coagulate. Well, coagulate. So on the other side, that if type B person has been transfused with type A blood, also the coagulation will happen, unfortunately, and this should be prevented by the doctors and nurses, because the coagulation will lead the patients die. Okay, the patient die. That is medical incident, medical, I mean, instance should be charged by the patients, because the patients, the family will charge the doctors and patient nurses. Okay, so actually the coagulation, if unfortunately the coagulation happens, this kind of reaction is called a kind of like immune response, because the type A antigen combined with type B antibody, or vice versa, right? Okay, but I'm sure that you know that type O blood is called universal blood. Universal blood in Chinese, 万能血. I'm sure you know a little bit about that, right? You know that, you know why the type A is called universal. Type O, type O is called universal blood. Universal blood is 万能血. Okay, why type O is called universal blood? Because there is no any antigen, antibody, type A antigen, type B antigen, type A antibody, type B antibodies. There's no any antigen antibody inside of the type O blood cell. So if the type O has been transfused into the type A, type B, type AB, type O patients, and then there's two, well, will not have any too much negative clinical event, so the persons can get their blood transfusion from the person with the type O. Okay, well, no matter what, this is the immune response about the blood cells, red blood cell. Okay, type A, type B. Okay, so that's called internal defense system. Internal defense system. Okay. Now let's talk about the question. Explain the terms antigen, antibody, and immune response in your own words. You know what is the antigen, antibody, and immune response in your own words?
So
Okay.
antigen is I don't know how to explain it. Antigen
Yeah. What is antigen? Antigen
is
is,
the
yeah, it's like a virus, bacteria that is foreign to the body, to the human body or animal body, right? External.
thing
Yeah.
inside of the
That
inside the
is
body.
that is not inside of the human body or animal body. External. Okay, antigen, external. Virus and bacteria are external, foreign. What is antibody?
Antibody is the thing which fights with the bacteria and virus.
Yeah, sure. Now please read the definition on the right column. Okay, an antigen is substance that is foreign to the body and stimulates an immune response. Okay, foreign to the body, and stimulates an immune response. Okay. Second, antibody. Antibody is is a glycoprotein
Mm.
immunoglobulin made by plasma cells derived from B lymphocytes secrete in response to an antigen. The variable regions of the antibody molecules is complementary in shape to its specific antigen. Well, I think that this definition will be very professional or too professional, you know, too long, too difficult for you to understand. How about we
Mm.
directly talk about the structure of antibody? Actually, they are glycoprotein, are called immunoglobulin. Okay,
Mm.
it's kind of like glycoprotein, 糖蛋白, right? So,
Mm.
can you remember where we have mentioned the glycoprotein? Where we have mentioned the glycoprotein?
Mm.
Where?
Virus.
Where we have mentioned the glycoprotein? We have,
Virus.
uh-huh,
Virus.
right.
The
GP 120
41.
or GP 41, right? And also,
Mm-hmm.
we have mentioned glycoprotein in the introduction of animal cell
Cell
membrane.
membrane.
Right. So, what's the function of the glycoprotein?
Uh, contact with the out of the cells.
Well,
Uh,
glycoprotein can be used as a receptor or signal detection, right? They gotta
mm,
have signal detection function. This called protein to have their receptor to recept some its specific glycoprotein. Well, let's directly turn to the structure of the immunoglobulin or glycoprotein. Here, you see, you see this picture. Now, figure 11.10, a diagram of an antibody molecule. An antigen antibody binding occurs at the variable regions. An antibody fits into the binding site like a substrate fitting into an active site of an enzyme. Uh, we have mentioned the enzyme, right? Its function, structure, as well as their influential, the influences that will bring about the pH, temperature, on the structure change of the enzyme influence the functionality of the enzyme, right? And also as well as the
mm,
concentration of the substrate. So substrate will fit into the active site of the enzyme. Okay, so please look at the structure of the uh, antibody molecule. As we can see that the top part of the antibody is antigen binding sites. Okay, binding sites. Okay, and
mm, mm,
the yellow parts, the lower part, has been classified into two parts. One is called heavy polypeptide chain. Okay, heavy
mm,
polypeptide chain, the two long and long the chains called a heavy polypeptide chain, and the two long and heavy polypeptide chains are connected by the disulfide bonds. Okay,
mm.
disulfide bonds. Where can we find the disulfide bonds?
The temporary structure.
The tertiary structure of
Torture.
the protein. So we can
Mm,
see that this antibody molecule is also mm, maybe in the tertiary or the third structure of the protein. Yeah, polypeptide chain, right? Okay,
mm,
and except the heavy polypeptide chain, we can see on each side of the heavy polypeptide chains, we can see that is a light polypeptide chain, right? Light polypeptide
mm,
chain. This is light. and on the right side, this is light. Okay, and the light polypeptide chain connected with heavy polypeptide chain with disulfide bonds. Okay, here, disulfide bonds. Okay, so that's the basic structure of the antibody molecules. Also, we can see on the chain of, there's a chain of the sugar molecule. Okay, sugar molecule. Okay, uh, well, actually, this part or sugar molecule chain will combine with complement. Uh, complement. I write down here. Okay. Um. Well, there's no need for you to remember what's the or to know what the complement is, or remember there's actually C1, C2, C5. C means complement. C1, C2, C4, even C12 complements. What the functions they have? No need for you to remember. But you just know that the complements will combine with the antibody in a lower part of the polypeptide chain. Okay, the chains of the sugar molecules. Okay, well, so as to the antigen binding sites, okay, antigen binding sites, that is now in a deep blue, and the yellow is the polypeptide. So what is the antigen binding site in the deep yellow or deep blue color? They are glycoprotein, right? So please make the differentiation between glycoprotein and the polypeptide. Okay, they are glycoprotein. Okay, so the antigen binding sites are glycoprotein, right? In this picture in deep blue, and the parts in the color of the yellow, they are polypeptide chains, heavy and light and heavy polypeptide chain, right? Okay, but please, the antigen binding site, also called a variable region. Why this part binding site is called a variable region? Variable means can change a lot, right? Variable can change from this kind of um, shape, this kind of function, structure to another, and it changes a lot. Variable. So we're talking about the antibody, right? Talk about the antibody. So actually, their antibody is called immunoglobulin. Okay, here. This I would like to. This is the structure of the IgG. Okay, IgG. Okay, IgG. You see the part in the green is called antibody, and the part in the red is called antigen. So antigen, has been recognized by the antibody, right? They combine it with each other, right? Okay. So this is the model of the antibody made use computing graphics. So the main part of green is the antibody molecule, and the small part in the bottom right hand corner, red is antigen, and the one of the two antigen binding sites. Okay, there are two sites, this side and right and left, two sites. Right. Compare this with figure 1110. This type of antibody molecules with four polypeptides is known as immunoglobulin G, IgG for short. Okay, IgG for short. So there's IgA and IgM. Okay, so IgA got a 4 antigen binding site, IgM with 10 site for antigen binding, 10 antigen binding sites. Okay, as to the IgA, I gotta mention, I'm sure that you know one milk called colostrum. Colostrum means 初乳. What is colostrum here? I would like to mention colostrum. Give me time. We have colostrum in our textbook, but I gotta look for them. Okay, colostrum. Okay, there's colostrum. Here. Okay, here. Okay, colostrum. Colostrum. Okay, colostrum in Chinese 初乳. Well, colostrum is very, very important for the growth and development of the neonatal babies. So colostrum are the thick yellowish fluid produced by a mother's breasts for the first 4 or 5 days after birth. Contains a type of antibody known as IgA. Okay, IgA. So IgA as an antibody has been secreted by the new new mother, right? To protect her newborn baby after first 4 to 5 days. So some of the antibody IgA remain on the surface of the infant's gut wall. Gut means intestine, gut wall. And others will be, pass into the blood, but without without digestion. So this will form the natural passive immunity. Okay, so natural IgA will act in the gut, prevent the growth of bacteria, virus, and also circulates in the blood. So can I ask you that why the new mommy will pass its IgA to the in a colostrum to get into the her newborn baby? That's because the newborn baby with that further contacting by the human by the living environment, that is not 100% clean, and then the newborn baby don't have time to initiate and produce adequate antibody to protect herself or himself. Okay, so just as the textbook written, in the first 4 or 5 days, the IgA from the new mommy will protect the newborn baby. You see that the newborn baby, after delivery, he or she will, be contaminated, be infected by the virus and bacteria all around the living conditions in the air, and eat some milk from his or her mommy. Yeah, the milk can protect the newborn baby, but the newborn baby got to breathe air, right? And in the air there is antigens, there's some pathogens like virus, by bacteria. So the newborn baby need the protection from its mommy. Okay, so colostrum is good. Okay, colostrum, please remember colostrum. Okay, and also remember the component of colostrum is the antibody IgA, okay? Ig stands for immunoglobulin, okay? 免疫球蛋白 immunoglobulin A, okay? So actually there are IgA, IgG, IgM, and IgE. Uh, in our textbook, there's no need to for you to remember all of them, but you just know, oh, there's several kinds of immunoglobulin. IgA, IgG, IgM, IgE, blah blah, and just please remember the largest immunoglobulin is IgM. IgM, since there are 10 antigen binding sites, but IgA got a 4 and IgG are only 2. Okay, 2 type antibody molecule with 4 polypeptide. Okay, well, that is the introduction, a brief introduction of the immunoglobulin or antibody. Okay, so how about we just have a break? Okay,
Mm.
have a break. Let's break 5 minutes. Okay. So then we talk about the general structure, general introduction of the immune system, as well as the antigen and antibody. Um, about there are several antibodies or several immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, IgM, and IgA's representation is typical IgA is called a colostrum, right? 初乳 colostrum to protect the
Mm.
newborn baby. IgM is the largest antibody with 10 antigen binding sites. Okay, but please remember the immunoglobulin uh, or antibody is kind of like a protein. It is talking about its antigen binding site, but the rest side of the antibody is heavy and light polypeptide chain, right? In the
Mm.
lower part of the heavy polypeptide chain, that is the area for complement binding, 补体 complement binding. Well, so please read the antibody definition. Antibody is a glycoprotein immunoglobulin made by plasma cell delivered from B lymphocytes secreted in response to an antigen. The variable
Mm.
region of the antibody molecule is complementary in shape of its specific antigen. I think that the second part, the variable antigen region of the antibody molecules is complementary, 互补 or complementary 互补 in shape to its specific region. Uh, I think it's very understandable. But we have not mentioned about the plasma cell derived from B lymph cells secreted in response to an antigen, right? We have
Mm.
not mentioned what is a plasma cell, what is the B lymph cells. Okay, let's keep introducing the immune system. So cells of immune system here are originated from bone marrow. The immune cells are from bone marrow, okay? 骨髓 bone marrow. So there are two groups of these cells called involved in defense. One's phagocytes like macrophage and a neutrophil. We have mentioned, right? 中性粒细胞 neutrophil we have mentioned. And second, lymphocytes are 淋巴细胞, okay? And also all these cells among the you know the red blood cells and can be visible. For example, in this figure 11.2, the most of the cells are red blood cells, right? But here, this is monocyte, and the monocyte in Chinese 单核细胞, okay? Uh,
Mm.
this is the cell with the giant, huge part of most part of the cell is occupied its nuclear, its nucleus, but the nucleus is just one, is mono means one, monocyte, okay, and it will develop into macrophage, to bite.
Mm.
Okay. Second is the neutrophil. Neutrophil. In Chinese, 中性粒细胞, right? Neutrophil. Okay. And this is lymphocyte. Okay. Lymphocyte.
Mm.
Right? So generally, lymphocyte is small, right? And we will talk about the lymphocyte further. It will be classified into T and B and like that. Okay. Um, how about we talk about the macrophage further? Macrophage further. Okay.
Mm.
Now, yeah. Okay. Good. So please look at the right side of this picture. The figure 11.4, the stages of phagocytosis. Now, the first step attraction called chemotaxis. Okay, chemotaxis. Chemotaxis is the movement towards a chemical stimulus. That's to say, the macrophage will come closer to the foreign antigen or virus or bacteria. Okay, this
Mm.
moment is called chemotaxis. In Chinese, 化学趋化. Okay, I would like to write them down. Chemotaxis, 化学趋化 chemotaxis. So the movement towards a chemical stimulus, uh, or foreign pathogens, virus, bacteria, is called
Mm.
chemotaxis. It's kind of moment, okay, moment. So that's to say, for example, the neutrophil will get closer to the bacteria, okay. This is called attraction, attract each other. Second, the recognition and attachment. So this is bacteria, and the bacteria are directly attached to the neutrophil membrane, and on the surface of the neutrophil there is a receptor. Okay, receptor. This is receptor, and the receptor can recognize the antibody. It is called an antibody marker or receptor. Okay, so cell
Mm.
surface member
Mm.
of the neutrophil, the receptor uh, can recognize the antibody, can recognize the foreign pathogen, the virus, the bacteria. And the three, endocytosis. Endocytosis. We have learned this endocytosis when we talk about the function or structure of the cell, right? That's to
Mm.
say, the two bacteria will be engulfed or be eaten by the neutrophil. Mm, Neutrophil will form a semicircle or surround the bacteria. So the process is called endocytosis. So the fourth step, bacteria within the phagocytic vacuole. Okay, and then as we know that, what's the function of the lysosome?
Mm.
The function of lysosome is to,
Break down the
that's right.
other.
Yeah, the foreign pathogen bacteria. Okay, so lysosome
Mm.
will break down or hydrolyze the bacteria, and in the fourth state, the neutrophil as well as the phagocyte will form the phagocytic vacuole. That's from this vacuole. So the bacteria's foreign pathogen will be surrounded by the vacuole. Okay, the fifth step, fusion of lysosome and phagocytic vacuole, and last, the lysosome and macrophage will kill and digest the bacteria. So the bacteria, after being digested by the enzyme such as protease, protease in Chinese 蛋白水解酶, okay, Write them down. Protease, protease, protease. 蛋白水解酶 protease. Okay, so protease is called it's kind of enzyme can hydrolyze the or digest the bacteria. So kill and digest. Okay, kill the digest the virus bacteria. Okay, actually this is called the stages of phagocytosis. As we can see that this picture it is talking about the neutrophil. Okay, actually the neutrophil 中性粒细胞 right neutrophil it is in a joint venture joint communication joint efforts with the macrophage to to form the phagocytosis process endocytosis and in the end of the killing and digestion the digestive bacteria will be get out of the macrophage by exocytosis, right? Exocytosis. I got it here. Write down here. Seven. Seven exocytosis. In Chinese, 出胞, okay. 出细胞, okay. Exocytosis. Where's 胞? Yeah, here. Okay. Exocytosis. And I would like to draw an arrow. You see the arrow? Okay, now arrow. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay, 7. So that is the phagocytosis to digest or hydrolyzed by the enzyme by the phagocytosis macrophage or by the neutrophil. And please see this. Look at this figure 11.3 and transmission electron micrograph of the two neutrophils that have ingested several staphylococcus bacteria. What is staphylococcus? We've mentioned in the last the previous class. What is staphylococcus in Chinese? 葡萄球菌, right?
葡萄球菌
Yes, staphylococcus. Streptococcus 链球菌 Staphylococcus 是葡萄球菌 Staphylococcus aureus 金黄色葡萄球菌 Staphylococcus epidermidis 表皮葡萄球菌 so this here this is the bacteria now has been engulfed has been under the eaten and also inside of the a neutrophil, there's several staphylococcus, right? Several staphylococcus, several bacteria. So you can say that from time to time, or even every minute, every seconds of our human body, the neutrophils, macrophage are protecting you from the invasion or intrusion of the bacteria such as staphylococcus bacteria by this kind of ingestions or called phagocytosis. Okay, phagocytosis. So now remember, you will be tested by the similar figures, diagram, pictures. Please understand or make yourself understood that you can give the right answer about the phagocytosis. Okay. Also we would like to, by the way, we're going to mention the histamine. Okay, histamine in Chinese 组胺 or 组织胺. Okay, histamine. Okay, 组胺 or 组织胺. Okay, if the pathogen invaded the body, that will cause the infection. Some cell will under attack respond by releasing chemicals such as histamine. And then the chemical released by the passengers themselves attack passing neutrophils to the site. So Then the neutrophil will destroy the pathogen by phagocytosis. So as we can, from this sentences, we can see that the histamine is kind of releasing chemicals will indicate the upcoming or forthcoming phagocytosis reaction to fight against the foreign bacteria or virus. So if there's too much histamine uh, has been released, the person will got some uh, symptoms such as nose bleeding, tears, headache, even the skin rash. Okay, you know what I mean? What I'm talking about. I mean, if the yes, it is very good that for the human body to release the histamine, 组织胺histamine, because histamine is a kind of a releasing chemicals that uh, released by the pathogen themselves, and then they will attract the neutrophils to the site. The neutrophils, macrophage will protect the human body to fight against the bacteria because the bacteria released the chemicals called histamine. So it's good. But unfortunately, if the human body got the attack response because of releasing too much chemical, such as histamine, and then the person will got like what I'm saying, nose bleeding, headache, or even running nose, 流鼻涕, runny nose, or too much tears, and even itchy, skin itchiness. You got a scratch, and then there are vesicles along the part of the skin where you scratched. So, and that is the big problem, big headache for you. And then you got to go to the hospital to see the skin doctors. And that skin doctor will prescribe a drug uh, to fight against the histamine, right? To fight against the histamine, so-called antihistamine. Antihistamine, I'm sure you know such a drug called like 西斯地明, puarmin, this kind of anti-hypersensitive drugs. So this called histamine, fight against the antigen. But also there, I'm sure that some person will got uh, feel sick when he or she get into the birds, get into bus, or get in the train. He cannot make himself or herself accustomed to the journey, long journey of the bus, of the train, of the boat. And maybe he will get a vomit, right? In Chinese, 晕船, 晕车, okay? So that's because in the person's stomach, too much histamine like chemicals has been released. And also, the doctors can prescribe a antihistamine receptor 2, or called H2. H means histamine, okay? H2 drugs for the passengers. And then the person will feel easier to, you know, take the bus, take the train, etc. Okay? Well, that's the general introduction about histamine, and there's no need for you to remember too much because this is not medicine, just a biology class. Okay? So we have talked about the phagocytosis, talk about how the neutrophil and how the macrophage to fight against the bacterial virus by using endocytosis, by using the lysosome, and how they kill and digest the bacteria by enzymes such as protease, that is hydrolyzed bacteria, hydrolyzed enzyme. Okay, so we have finished talking about the phagocyte, neutrophil, and macrophage. Okay, well, um, yeah, let's talk about further about the neutrophil. Neutrophil is about 60% of the white cells, white blood cells is neutrophil. 中性粒细胞 neutrophil
mm,
is most part of the white blood cells, around 60%. So they will
mm,
squeeze through the walls of the capillary of the patrol tissue, and during infection, the neutrophils will get into the area uh, to fight against the bacteria. But they are short-lived cells. As to the macrophage, uh, they can be found in lung, liver, spleen, skin, kidney, and lymph nodes.
mm,
Uh, but they are long-lived cells. They are long-lived cells. Okay, long-lived cells. Okay.
mm.
So I'm sure that previously we talked about one disease called monocytosis. I'm not sure you can remember monocytosis. Monocytosis in Chinese, 单核细胞增多症. Maybe you
Mm,
lost the name of the disease, but when I remember, when I mentioned, uh, can you recall the name of the virus called EB virus?
EB. Yeah.
So EB virus will cause disease called kissing disease, right?
Uh-huh.
Remember,
Mm,
接吻病. Kissing disease is kind of monocytosis. Okay,
mm,
so EB virus. EB means Epstein-Barr virus. Lead can cause disease, cause kissing disease, and kissing disease is kind of a monocytosis. 单核
mm,
细胞增多症 monocytosis. So in the blood, the monocyte actually is macrophage, right? Is actually macrophage. 它是一个巨噬细胞. Actually, is macrophage. Okay. So can you tell me something about the kissing disease?
Kissing is this disease is infected by kissing between the sex partner or the boy girlfriend, like that.
Yeah, yeah.
They can't.
Because the infection of a virus called EB virus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, EB virus, and the clinical manifestation when you get the blood check, blood in a smear, uh, the doctors will find that monocyte being increased, called monocytosis. 单核细胞增多症. Okay, actually the
Yeah.
monocyte is a kind of always from the macrophage. Okay, macrophage. Well, that's very interesting, right? Very interesting. So next, let's talk about the lymphocytes. Okay,
Mm,
lymphocytes. So there are two kinds of lymphocytes. One is B lymphocytes, another is T lymphocytes. Okay, B here, B is bone marrow. Okay, B means bone. Okay, here B means bone marrow. Okay, 骨髓. Okay, so as we know that the B side lymphocytes is from bone marrow. So they remain in the bone marrow until they are matured and then spread throughout the body, concentrating in lymph nodes and the spleen. Lymph nodes and spleen. Okay, you gotta remember, spleen in Chinese 脾, right? Spleen.
mm,
Spleen got two characteristics. One, the spleen is full of blood. When the person got happily got traffic accident, the person hit by the the the, the, the upcoming automobile, truck, or car, and the person possibly got a spleen burst, spleen blast, 皮破裂. Okay, okay.
mm,
So it is very, very important for the doctor to check out the condition of the spleen, if necessary. if the person without cannot be examined by the CT or any other instruments, the doctor will firstly ask the patient's blood type. What's your blood type? Oh, I got a blood type A, and it's better for the patient to be transfused type A. If no blood type A, you got a blood type O, right? We mentioned blood type O is a universal blood type, right? And to supplement the loss or possible loss of the person who have suffered from the truck accident, right? Okay. Second, spleen is the human organ that contains much more many lymphocytes. So spleen uh, is area when the immune response happen. So if the immune response happen, one for example, in a CT, we'll find the enlargement of spleen. So called a splenomegaly. Okay, splenomegaly. In Chinese, 脾肿大. Okay, can you see the words I've written? 脾肿大. Another word's called a hepatomegaly. 肝肿大. Okay, 脾肿大, 肝肿大. Okay, but liver, hepatomegaly, the enlargement or swelling of the liver is not associated with um, immune response. It generally associated with maybe the virus attack or some liver disease, liver cancer, or etc. But splenomegaly, the enlargement of the spleen, will certainly associate with the immune response. Okay. And second, another T lymph cells. T is the first letter, capital first thymus. Thymus in Chinese, 胸腺. Okay. THYMUS. So let me tell you that the thymus in if the person getting into adulthood, the person's thymus will not be active anymore, even though there is some of a remnant. 就是人长大了之后，胸腺它就没有活性了 thymus. But before adulthood, from neonatal age to the period to the maybe 10 years old, 12 years old, the person's thymus will be less active further and further. But before the inactivation of the thymus where the T cells mature, have the very, very important functions of our immune response. But please remember, the T cells just mature in the thymus. But the T lymph cells also from the bone marrow, okay, they just collect in the thymus. So both B cell and T cell are also, the two of them are from bone marrow, okay. So you see the thymus is a gland that lies in the chest just beneath the sternum. What is sternum? Sternum in Chinese, 胸骨, okay. Sternum. 胸骨, okay, sternum. So for example, look at me, now this is my chest, okay, this is my chest, and then this is the sternum, okay, I'm sure that you can press that. So our thymus is just beneath the sternum, because we are adults, you are adults too, and the thymus will not be active anymore, okay. So you see now, it doubles in size between birth and puberty, but after puberty it shrinks, right? It shrinks means it is not active anymore, okay. But before its shrinkage, it has matured the T lymphocytes. Now I would like to mention the two kinds of T lymphocytes. C, T lymphocytes. I remember there are two kinds of lymphocytes. Oh no. T lymphocytes. I remember when I prepared the class. T lymphocytes. Okay. B cell and T cell. Okay. Well, anyway, uh, maybe. Oh, I don't know where I've written. Well, you gotta know that there are two kinds of T lymphocytes. One is T, another is one is T4, another is T8. Okay, T4 is has another name. Here. Okay, here T helper cell. Okay, T lymphocytes called helper T cells. Okay, helper T cells. It's called another T4 cell. Okay, T4 cell. T4 cell. Okay. And the killer T cells or cytotoxic T cell, 细胞毒的 T cell is called T8. Okay, T8. So T4 is T helper cell. T8 is T killer cell. Okay, T killer cell. Oh, here I've written here. Okay, T4 is T helper cells. T8 is called T killer cells. T or cytotoxic cell. Okay. Well, as to the further illustration, T4, T8, as well as B lymph cells and how they produced, let's talk about them in the next class. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.